Thanks for joining us here at The Research Her, the show working to improve the health disparities for women of color, one topic at a time. And I am Elicia. I'm here learning and growing with you as we research our way to wellness. Salutations, fine people. It is the end of quarter 2 of year 2 of the podcast. And we were supposed to actually do one of these check-ins back in June, but there was a lot of grief and protests going on. And honestly, I was just trying to keep my head above water. But just know, if I'm not showing up for the podcast, it's probably because I'm not showing up for myself too. I may be struggling personally and I probably need a break. And I'm going to take it. And I'm going to take it proudly and loudly. So that's why we didn't do a check-in for last quarter. This quarter has been amazing. There's some wins, so I want to share those. We were able to secure some amazing guests to complete the rest of this year's episodes. We have set in stone the rest of the interviews for this year, and that's dope. So far, we've secured almost 25,000 downloads. We should hit that by the time this drops, or once this drops and people listen, we should reach 25,000 total downloads. I set out with the goal of having a monthly download count of 5,000. And we ended up getting 6,500 downloads last month. So that was really cool. It's just like, you set some goals and you just aim for them. I just hope that this month we are able to repeat that number and keep seeing increase in the downloads each month. I was not expecting 6,500 downloads at all, but, I kind of put out what I wanted into the universe and it was received, and I am receiving it. And I know that we can keep it up with the downloads. As you may or may not know, the 40th episode of The Research Her was a hit. The numbers were insane. They were amazing. So our graces, Zahara Hill from Blavity, had been planning on releasing an article about the podcast, but I think she ran across the swap episode. She reached out to me, told me she had listened to the episode, and she really wants to talk about that episode in an article for Blavity. Yeah, she wrote it up. It was an amazing article. It just made me realize what I'm doing here is beneficial. People are really learning. The feedback for that episode has been amazing, and I've been appreciating all the good that's been coming with it. Pretty soon, I don't want to say tomorrow, because I keep giving myself these time limits, and then when I don't meet them, I'm looking at myself crazy. But pretty soon on social media, I will be doing a top 10 listened episodes countdown on the socials, maybe showing 2 a day for a week, or 2 a day for 5 days to be exact, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you're not following me, you go ahead and follow The Research Her on the socials. That way you can see which episodes are being downloaded the most. And possibly you could start there with listening or just binge watch from the beginning through. But I really want to highlight some of those older episodes that really made the foundation of this podcast. They're doing numbers. Hopefully moving forward, the newer episodes are going to stack up as much as the older episodes. So with that being said, we talked a little bit about what last quarter brought, but this new quarter, I want to work on securing sponsors and creating more of a supportive community surrounding just Black women researchers and people interested in their well-being. I'm actually going to ask you for a lot this episode, so please love on me. Please, hopefully you can support all of the things in which I'm going to ask of you. So thing number 1, I created a listener survey that I will link to in the show notes. And what this survey does is it helps me understand if I am bringing the right content, the content that you want, the content that you deserve. And I also want to make sure that when I am going and looking for sponsors, that I get ones that are true to you and not just looking for something that I want to secure just because, you're going to look up and you're going to be like, sis, who the hell wanted peppermint scent titty cups? Like that, like really? I don't know what is. Okay. Yes. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I just want to make sure when I'm getting sponsors and telling you all about products, one, it's true to me. I actually never had a peppermint scented, titty cup, but hey, you heard it here first. But I want to make sure that any products that are brought or mentioned are something that you may actually be interested in. So that is thing one. So please fill out the listener survey. I want to be sure that I'm really making sure the podcast is curated with you in mind and just not me talking to me. Okay. So then I've recently created a Slack community for Black women researchers. So if you want to join that Slack community, if you identify as a Black woman researcher, go ahead, and the link to that is in the show notes and you can click on that. I'm still trying to figure out how and where to create a community for the podcast itself. I don't know what it looks like because I don't know how to. My upstairs person be acting a fool. Yeah, I don't know what that looks like as far as creating a community around the podcast because we're in this weird generation, right? I am a part of the millennials in which really are on Instagram and Twitter. A lot of people are making Facebook communities. However, I know that a majority of us listening and me talking don't really vibe with Facebook as much. However, there are still a lot of us who haven't created or have a Slack either. So I just really wish that Instagram or Twitter would have come up with a way of creating a community on those platforms versus having to find something outside of Facebook and freaking Twitter so that we can have a community. But I know Facebook is probably gonna be the place, the go-to place. I wanted it to be something that would be accessible and something that you would actually check during your regular day. So that's what I've been trying to figure out damn near for a year now. And I just have to, it's not that I'm trying to figure it out. I guess I just need to make a decision. I know I don't get on Facebook like that. So that's why I'm very hesitant about creating a Facebook space. I too am hesitant about creating a Slack page for the podcast just off of the strength that I don't know that Slack would be the best for the podcast, but we'll figure it out. And then also, so that was number 2. If you identify as a Black woman researcher, please go ahead and join the Slack community. We're still figuring out how to create space there too. But also, this is the last and final acts of the day. And I know the marketers out there who are listening are like, girl, nobody gonna do all 3 of these things, okay? You have one call to action. But I don't listen. I know I don't listen, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that we are different. We can multitask, and we can't multitask. We can do multiple instructions. We can do all of the things. So I'm gonna ask you one more thing. Let me give you a little insight onto why I'm doing it first. So the last ask. As you know, therapy has been something that I have stood by and endorsed for at least the past year of the show. That has been because it truly changed my life and helped me finish my degree. Without therapy, I would have went into a very dark place, gave up on what I was doing, and kind of never recuperated or got out of the funk that I was in. I say funk, but the very deep depression I was in. What I want to do is gift therapy to a Black woman because unfortunately it is a luxury to get therapy based on our system, the way that our system, insurance goes, and then especially finding a therapist that you feel you can relate to. It's very difficult, particularly if you're a Black woman and you're having a difficult time with a therapist that may not identify or validate you and your feelings or understand what you're saying. But I really want to support Black women in need of therapy. I want to support Black people who are getting doctorate degrees specifically, because they're that interesting middle that gets left out of the financial talks, because we're not doctors and we aren't making money. We're actually pretty poor in grad school. We make less than minimum wage when we are in graduate school. But, because what we're doing is so esteemed, people look at us and, oh, she got it, she good. And quite honestly, part of the depression is the fact that we do not have any extra coins. We don't have the extra money. And there's so much financial and emotional burden that comes with becoming a doctor. The support is very minimal. Again, grad students are paid less than minimum wage for the life-changing work that they are doing. The research that PhD students do specifically, because that's what I can speak to, is like hardcore scientific work that other people who are working for industry are getting six figures to do. These projects are $1 million projects, and we're paying them chump change to do these projects. And typically you have Black people working again for coins for a white boss, and we're expected to hold ourselves together without the proper tools when there is generational traumas that come with us working for nothing for white people. There are suicidal thoughts. Suicide actually happens. In a study, it was found that 40% of graduate students report depression and 40% reported anxiety in that study. And I really want to help combat that just by a little bit. I want to support our community, and this is something that runs true to my heart. I really want to get Black women the medical care that they need without the need to worry about the cost. Based on my typical downloads, if everyone who listens to this episode sends in 50 cents, we can support a Black woman to get therapy for 6 months without having to pay a dime. So you are sending in change that you probably dropped outside of the White Castle and McDonald's to help someone literally change medically. We know that our minds are a huge part of our overall well-being. We may be literally changing someone's life forever because they might get therapy this one time and continue to do it beyond. The Research Her LLC is donating $300 as the starting fund. And we also have an anonymous donor, and maybe she don't want to be anonymous, but I'm going to ask her first, who is matching the contribution as the starting fund. And I hope that you will help us with securing funding that we need. We may even be able to help multiple women if you listening supports. If you choose to, help with this crowdfunding initiative, you can leave your social media handle inside of the notes of whatever payment form that you choose, and I'll be sure to shout you out on social media if that's what you're looking to do. If you don't, if you want to just remain anonymous, that's fine too. You can send the money via CashApp at $ElissiaF, Google Pay, ElissiaFranklin@gmail.com, PayPal, Elissia at the Research Her. All of the payment methods are going to be in the show notes. That's it. I want to pay for Black women to go to therapy. We want to continue to see our generation grow. And as time goes on, helping with supporting Black women trying to become doctors helps to improve our whole community. Because guess who are the ones who are doing the research related to Black women, Black women's healthcare, anything related to that. And the people who are doing it actually correctly are freaking Black people, period. I can only do so much. If there is a cause that you want to be a part of or you want to see being done, I highly suggest you go for it. I'm just letting you know, based on my experience, Black women trying to become doctors are very under-supported, even though it should not be like that. If you want to help contribute to the funding, I'm asking that you send 50 cents to the Researcher LLC. And the different forms of payments, again, is in the show notes. I look forward to updating you all and constantly letting you know how much we've raised so far and seeing how well this goes. I really think that we can start something and continue the trend of supporting each other as we journey and we grow, because if we can see each other shine and we can help each other shine and we can help each other improve, that's a win for all of us, because then guess what? Our grandchildren may be the ones who discover the cure to cancer because we have created space for them to exist. So it starts with us though. When I'm done begging you all for today, only for today. With that being said, I just want to take a step back and introduce myself to those who are new. So, hey, my name is Elissia Tanae. I am a lover, an educator, a researcher, a science communicator, and a podcaster. And I am currently working in the Department of Chemistry at Purdue University as a postdoctoral research associate. My research focuses on using mass spectrometry for lipid structural analysis. So by trade, I am an analytical chemist. However, I have found love in being a wellness researcher, and I am looking to switch from my formal field of work in analytical chemistry into a more interdisciplinary social science realm. I want to really dive completely into being a wellness researcher and be one of those people who are focused on bringing equity to research studies. There's so much healthiness and happiness research out there, but a lot of it excludes our voices, our blood samples, our thoughts. And I want to be one of those people who are working to improve that. I want to look at it aside from like health disparities. I've been very much saying I want to improve health disparities. I truly want to look at it from the glass half full perspective, and I'm not sure if it's just the wrong way of thinking about it, but it seems like the same thing to me, except I'm highlighting wellness and highlighting well-being. How can we as Black people improve our wellness? What really had me thinking was the death of Chad Boseman. I was ugly crying. I could not stop crying. And it was not because I was a huge fan. I saw Black Panther, and that was probably actually the extent of the work in which I saw. But of course, with Instagram, I saw him speaking at different conferences in front of different crowds. And I know what his presence did for the culture. You have this Black man who looks like my uncle, who looks like my cousin, who looks like someone I'm familiar with that I have seen, touched, been with on a regular day basis. And he showed up for us. He showed up in the eyes of anyone who was watching. It didn't matter whether it was a Black audience or a white audience, but he showed up for us unapologetically. And it just inspires me to do the same. I want to unapologetically do work to improve the lifestyles and the mindsets of people. I have to be comfortable in expressing that even when people don't want to hear it. And before we head out, I'm going to just give you an update on how I'm feeling. Whew, child. This week has been rough. I had a very, down and not depressed, but pretty depressed week. If I had to put it on, a scale, I would say I was somewhere around a 6 for depression or a 4 for happiness, where in the past I've been somewhere around 8 for happiness. But this week was just really, I can't quite put my finger on it. What I'm learning is now that I am done with my PhD, but I'm still on the same campus in which I got my PhD, I still find myself getting stressed out around times where I typically would have been taking an exam, or if I typically would have been stressed out because of something related to school. And I'm not sure if I'm just the weirdo who can't let go of the trauma from grad school. My anxiety has been low, if we're being honest. The anxiety that I've been feeling has only been related to my issues with driving around a lot of people or being around a lot of people. Versus, what am I going to need? Am I going to study? Am I going to it has not been high in those areas, which is really, really good. The depression was there. And I think it has a lot to do with not being intentional about my well-being routine. I am not one who has been doing super heavy lifting these past few months. Yeah, actually it's probably, it's going on a year now. I haven't done any heavy lifting in the gym, but it has been very important to me that I do go outside and I go for a walk, or my apartment has a gym, or I go in there, I'll do cardio, and I'll do body lifts. I'll do some type of body weight exercises. And that has been really important to me, to the point where, without trying, I told myself I was going to work out 3 days a week, and I'll still end up working out 5 or 6 days. But this past week, I really got into a space where I didn't even work out one time, which is really strange. With that came me being really feeling all week. I guess I'm challenging myself, because girl, you need to listen to yourself. I know you re-listening to this while you editing it. You need to do what you gotta do, sis. You gotta get up. You gotta go to the gym. You know that it helps you with your mental health. You can't push up all your depression. You can't. But you can probably push up a little out of it. You know what I'm saying? No, you can't yoga it away, but it will help. And I know it's helped. I've seen it help. It works for you. And I'm talking to self, but I could be talking to you too. It's therapeutic, so why not make time for it? I wonder if I be self-sabotaging sometimes. Yeah, my mental health has been bad this week. Energy level low, and I think it's just because I haven't been doing what I know helps me. I had a manuscript that was recently accepted and is available to be consumed on Analyst. That was really cool that paper got accepted, because I was very afraid that they were going to ask me to recollect some stuff, look at certain things. And because I did that work in China, I was like, I really don't feel like working with somebody across borders via WeChat for them to collect the data, because I'm not can't go back to China because of the coronavirus. I'm definitely not gonna go to China to finish this. I'm very glad that we didn't have to make any changes. Been working on some really good projects. Have 2 people that I am working with to get some of my research ideas done. I have so much passion. I want to know, how can I pursue it full time versus it being my side thing. This podcast has really been instrumental in me feeling purposeful. I don't know if you heard episode 40 of the podcast, but that is my goal for each episode. Another thing that this quarter has done for me is make me more comfortable with calling myself a science communicator. I don't know how the science communication community feel about what I do. Is it science communication? I really don't actually give a fuck what they believe, but I'm telling you what I do. And that is communicate research that is based in science to a larger community in a way that is palatable and understandable. So, thus, I am a science communicator. And I don't want to be accepted with open and welcome arms. I'm just going to keep doing me. The episodes that are surrounding understanding Black women are important because it lets us see ourselves in fields that we typically aren't seen in. And it inspires us to keep pushing and getting through and becoming what we know we can be, or acknowledging that, oh shoot, this was my limiting belief about getting into that field. Let me do what I need to do. All this is to say, the wellness work, the well-being work is still within that, because with us being represented and hearing our voices, it helps with our own state of mind and our own feelings about certain things surrounding a field. Part of well-being is the happiness and the mindset piece of it all. Those topics that are things that I think we all need to know, we gonna touch on those. So stick around with us. We're going to hear from our great sisters throughout this year. And yeah, we got some topics coming for that ass. Okay? And if you want to connect with me, I am at The Research Her on the socials and at theresearchher.com. You can email me, whatever. It's all on the website and the socials and stuff like that. And I'm very open and available to chat with anyone, have a conversation. And yeah, until next time, I holla.